The highly infectious Delta variant of the coronavirus may force Americans to wear masks again in the fall. I'm Charles Watson in Atlanta. I've got the details coming up.
Professional eater Randy Santel comes to Pittsburgh to complete the Brutus Buster Challenge. I'm Bronte Sorotsky with whether he'll end up on this winning wall behind me.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Mike Mahoney. We are continuing to follow developing news out of McDonald County after 3 inmates escaped from the McDonald County Detention Center last night. Officials say these 3 men, Shantavian Thomas, David Molina, and Carmelo Burgos, have not been located. The last known sighting of the inmates was a short distance south of the McDonald County Sheriff's Office around 5:10 last night. The Sheriff's Office says all 3 are considered to be armed and dangerous and were being held for violent offenses. If you locate them, please call 911 immediately. Authorities are asking everyone to lock and secure their homes, outbuildings, and vehicles. The female detention officer who was attacked and sustained minor injuries during the escape is recovering at a hospital at this time. The Delta variant of the coronavirus is causing COVID-19 outbreaks around the world. Health officials are concerned that when the weather gets colder and Americans get back indoors, it may cause another spike in infections. Fox News' Charles Watson has more.
The highly transmissible Delta variant of COVID-19 is showing no signs of slowing down. It is now the dominant strain in the United States. The coronavirus mutation is spreading so rapidly, it is likely people will have to once again wear masks indoors in the fall.
You should certainly be wearing a mask if you are unvaccinated.
Some Republicans, however, oppose masking up, whether or not you got the shots.
There should be no need to retrogress into a masked up Congress or a masked up state.
High vaccination rates in the U.S. combined with the warm summer months when people spend time outdoors have bought the country some time. But authorities say Delta variant outbreaks around the world are giving Americans a preview of what may be in store when the weather turns colder.
162 million Americans are vaccinated. That is certainly progress, but we are still at war with the virus.
According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, highly immunized parts of the country are getting back to normal, while hospitalizations are rising in other areas. Health experts say fully vaccinated people in places where the Delta variant is surging are safe without a mask.
If you are vaccinated, you get exceptional protection from the vaccines.
A new study shows the 2-dose Pfizer vaccine is 88% effective against the COVID Delta variant. It's only about 30% effective for those who have had just a single dose of the vaccine. In Atlanta, Charles Watson, Fox News.
The Joplin School District will be taking up vaccine incentives for their staff at their upcoming Tuesday meeting. Superintendent Melinda Moss will be presenting an option for vaccine incentives to staff who voluntarily show their vaccine cards. If they do take it up, staff would receive a $25 payment and the district would provide a chance at 4 $2,500 main prizes. If approved, it's estimated this would cost the district about $35,000, and if substitute staff is included, that would add an additional $8,800 to the cost. Olympic organizers say 10 new Olympic-related COVID-19 cases have been reported. The revelation comes on just the second day since the opening ceremony of the Tokyo Olympics. This brings the total coronavirus case count at the Games to 132. The Olympics are taking place in fanless venues, which serve as an ongoing reminder of pandemic protocols. Sports events are being held all over the city of Tokyo in celebration of the Games. All right, let's switch gears and let's talk about weather here in the 4-state area. Let's talk to meteorologist Nick Kelly. Nick.
We had an interesting day, Mike. We had to deal with some rain and thunderstorms today, and it helped us out with temperatures during the afternoon, believe it or not. 76 for a low this morning, and a high of 92 was the warmest we could go before we saw an area of outflow coming from storms in northern Kansas this morning pass on through. That helped to knock temperatures down for the rest of the afternoon. Certainly thankful for that, but it also had to spark some scattered rain and thunderstorms and a couple strong storms at times during the day, but not seeing anything out there right now. I think we'll stay dry for the rest of the night. Underneath eventual partly cloudy skies, lows dropping back to 72. Can't rule out some rain chances again tomorrow, Mike, but we're back in the lower 90s, and this is heat that will stick around for the rest of the week. We'll break down the numbers for the week ahead here in a bit.
Thanks as always, Nick. A famous professional eater arrived in Pittsburgh today to take on the Brutus Buster Burger Challenge over at the Kansas Crossing Casino. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky caught up with the famous foodie to see if he was up to the challenge.
Aggressively enjoy it, I call it.
That's how professional eater Randy Santel describes his line of work. On Sunday, the foodie continued his 4-state tour at the Kansas Crossing Casino in Pittsburgh and took on the Brutus Buster Burger Challenge.
Pretty much it's like a burger and a sandwich, but I'll have 30 minutes to finish. There are 2 beef patties. There is 6 ounces of their brisket, which I think is what they're most known for here. There's 6 ounces of pulled pork, and then all that along with bacon is surrounded by, well, first of all, there's 2 grilled cheese buns, and then it's all surrounded by fries, which are topped with their queso sauce and then chili.
And he finished in just 13 minutes and 53 seconds. It's what drew in fans like Landon Yockey, who wanted to see him beat the casino's record. And while Santel didn't beat the 7-minute time, he still earned himself a place on the Wall of Fame.
We've been fans for a while, and I thought he was going to be in Pittsburgh, Kansas, and we came to watch him dominate this food challenge.
While Santel knows his way around food, with over 1,000 wins, he's decided to take things another step further.
Well, actually, I'm in the process of becoming a registered dietitian, so I'm moving up to Milwaukee, Wisconsin to finish off everything for that. In about 2024, I will retire from professional eating and I'll become a registered dietitian.
He adds that because of his following from his run in professional eating, he can be one of the most followed dietitians in the world.
And so then I'll be able to use all my social media to help people better understand fundamental nutrition and then weight management. You get a lot of experience eating all these calories.
Helping people better improve and understand food. In Pittsburgh, Bronte Sorotsky, KUAM News.
That's an impressive win, but I want to meet the guy who did it in 7 minutes. All right. Costco is expanding its warehouse and store operations with some new U.S. locations, and that includes 3 of the 4 states. The big box discount store is opening new locations in Tennessee, as well as Little Rock, Arkansas, and Moore, Oklahoma this week. More U.S. openings are planned for August and September, with one coming to Springfield, Missouri. Costco is also doing international expansion, opening stores in Japan and Australia. It is now time for us to honor one of our many 4-state heroes. Tonight, we pay tribute to Fred Foster of Erwin, Missouri. Foster served as a corporal in the U.S. Army and he fought in World War II. He earned a sharpshooter's badge and many other honors. Thank you, sir, for your service, your bravery, and for fighting for freedom. For more information on any of our 4-state heroes or to nominate your own, just log on to KOAMnewsnow.com. We'll be right back with meteorologist Nick Kelly and another look at your weather. Plus, you will learn about the rescue operations underway in India, where thousands of villagers are dealing with a very deadly monsoon season. That's coming up right after weather.
Experience for yourself.
While we were on track to go into the mid-90s this afternoon, Mother Nature thankfully threw us a curveball that worked in our favor as we wrapped up the weekend on this Sunday. The time-lapse of indigo skies showed plenty of partly sunny skies, but quite a bit of thicker cloud cover as we progress through the late afternoon, certainly into this evening. Now let me take you to the temperatures, because this was quite interesting to see unfold throughout the course of the day. It was hot and humid yesterday. No need to repeat that as we went back into the lower 90s. Only mid-70s, around 76 this morning. And the warmest we could go was about 90, 92 degrees before we saw temperatures drop back into the 80s. And it's all due to these thunderstorms from early this morning out of northeastern and north central Kansas. Even though these storms pretty much collapsed as they did, it sent out an area of outflow, winds coming out from the storms. Not only did that help to cool us down during the afternoon, it actually proved quite potent in resulting some scattered showers, even some thunderstorms at times with some heavy pockets of rain. On the average, most of us didn't see too much out of this, 0.3 of an inch, but wherever you saw the heavier pockets of rain, you were seeing rain amounts push maybe ½ an inch to an inch tops. Thankfully, though, we're not seeing much, if anything, really. We're just seeing a lot of ground clutter on the radar. Despite some cloud cover still up top, we are looking dry at 7th and Rangeline in Joplin, 79. But with the dew point still in the mid-70s, still sluggish. It makes it feel like 82 degrees outside. Everybody's in the upper 70s to a few spots near 80, but these dew points are still way out there. So even though the outflow boundary helped to cool us down temporarily, These numbers are way beyond soupy if we look at that dew point tracker, and it's keeping us, in terms of what it feels like, in the lower 80s across much of the region. Back to the maps we go. We are thankfully not seeing any real severe weather. That's working across western parts of Oklahoma. And even though we have that area of outflow pass on through, that was not the actual front. Still stalled out just to the north. It's going to try to bring some isolated storms our way again for tomorrow, along with, again, any weak disturbances riding along the edge of the upper ridge that will really come into control still as advertised as we go throughout the rest of the week. Fortunately, I think we'll stay dry during the overnight, and the partly to mostly cloudy skies out there will just be more partly cloudy as we get the morning started. But during the day, can't rule out some isolated thunderstorms with the returning heat and humidity of the day. But I do expect temperatures to go back into the lower 90s tomorrow. But we'll start at 72, 88 by noon, highs around 92. If we had any isolated storms to start tomorrow evening out, they'll fade away with the setting sun. We'll be dry to start Tuesday out, and I think we'll be dry for Tuesday. Partly sunny, but hot and humid again with highs in the lower 90s. And speaking of that humidity, it's going to make it feel like between 98 and 103 as we go throughout tomorrow afternoon. After a little break, Monday night, Tuesday morning, back near 100 as we continue on throughout the rest of the week. I kind of jumped the gun here on the 7-day forecast, skipped ahead here, but I can tell you, Mike, that we are going 93 tomorrow. And let's see if I can quickly salvage this before I send things back over to you, because again, these are numbers that really tell the story. 93 Tuesday, 94 Wednesday, mid to upper 90s going into the final weekend of July ahead of us. So it is going to stay hot and humid for sure throughout the rest of the week.
All right. Thanks so much, Nick Kelly. Rescuers in western India spent today looking for scores of missing people as monsoons forced tens of thousands of residents to flee their homes. Days of landslides and flooding have now killed at least 113 people. Meanwhile, another 100 people are unaccounted for, and more than 130,000 people have been rescued out of about 900 villages. Disaster crews are finding stranded people on rooftops and highway buses. India's military is also participating in the rescues. While the monsoons are normal this time of year, experts say climate change is driving the Arabian Sea to create more of them, and with more intense short-period rainfalls. When we return, forecasters say the West Coast shouldn't expect any big breaks from the weather as this fire season continues.
Hot, dry conditions fuel fire danger out west as crews battle more than 80 wildfires. I'm Christina Coleman in Los Angeles. I'll have the details coming up.
Nominate your...
Massive wildfires out west are spiraling out of control and forcing more evacuations, but forecasters say the worst is yet to come. Fox News' Christina Coleman has the latest from Los Angeles.
Sweltering heat is expected to blanket much of the country in the coming days with record-breaking temps and high humidity in the Midwest and Great Plains. The dry, hot conditions are fueling fire danger in the West.
Fuels are at record or near record levels of dryness. The lack of moisture means everything is ready. Everything is explosive.
The intense Tamarack fire straddling the California-Nevada state line is only 4% contained and has burned more than 65,000 acres since last Sunday, forcing evacuations.
We broke down quite a few times at first, but now we just try to joke about it and try to keep a positive attitude.
Better weather is helping crews fight the massive bootleg fire in southern Oregon, which is now the largest fire in the country. It's been ravaging communities since it started on July 6th, destroying at least 67 homes.
So right now we're about 40% containment and over 400,000 acres.
The wildfires burning out west are impacting the sky's colors, even on the East Coast. The moon from Washington, D.C. showing off a bright orange hue. Smoke from the fires are also impacting air quality. People with respiratory issues are warned to stay indoors if they're living in an area with heavy air pollution from wildfires. In Los Angeles, Christina Coleman, Fox News.
A massive wildfire raging through Northern California has left more than a dozen homes and other buildings in ruins. The Dixie Fire has been burning for a week and a half and is considered the state's largest wildfire. Fire officials say the fire has charred more than 180,000 acres in Plumas and Butte counties. They also say it's now 20% contained. The fire has been burning in a remote area with rugged terrain, which is hindering firefighters' efforts to extinguish it. Wildfires aren't just a problem here in the U.S. this summer. They've also been tearing through the island of Sardinia in Italy, with nearly 400 people being evacuated overnight. As of now, no deaths or injuries have been reported, but several homes were damaged in the island's western interior region. Authorities say about 10,000 acres have been scorched and that the fires are still raging. A dad in Michigan put his life on the line to save his twin daughters from a house fire. Ray Lucas got badly burned after a fire at his home in Detroit. The father says he rushed inside the house while it was engulfed in flames to save his girls, Malaysia and Milan. Thankfully, both of the little girls made it out in time, but they did spend some time in the ICU. The family lost nearly everything else in the fire, but they're thankful to still have each other.
You really couldn't see your hand in front of your face. It was like I really only found my babies just due to like my memory, just knowing where they were and knowing how to get to them just from having that same route.
As of now, a GoFundMe for the family has already raised more than $50,000. When we return, you'll learn what some major cities are doing about their violent crime problems. A Chicago police superintendent takes to his city's streets this weekend to participate in a prayer march, and you'll hear the message he is sending to the public right after this short break.
Fort Warehouse.
Welcome back to your News at 9. Many Americans are expressing concern about spikes in violent crime in major cities across the country. Prosecutors are trying to come up with ways to get the problem under control before it gets even worse. Fox News' David Spunt takes a look.
Authorities here in Washington, D.C. want people to feel safe, but no question it's been difficult with this recent stream of continued violence. Thursday night, patrons were just enjoying dinner about a mile from the White House when shots were fired outside of a popular restaurant. Many innocent people were caught in the middle of the gunfire. D.C. Police Chief Robert Conti says he needs more boots on the ground, and the court system needs to work more in the favor of law enforcement. Chicago, another large city with a crime problem. The courts there are backed up by at least 35,000 felony cases. Right now, the state's attorney for Cook County handles both the county and city of Chicago. I was in Chicago Thursday and Friday, and I sat down with Kim Fox. She's the top prosecutor or state's attorney for the 5+ million people in Cook County. It's the second largest county in the country. There is a proposal by local leaders in Chicago to move some of the nonviolent crimes to a city court.
The fact of the matter is we have an unrelenting gun problem in Chicago, and I cannot look to the people that I serve and tell them that we're spending more of our resources going after petty offenses that can still be dealt with than we are going after gun violence, and that's where my priority is.
Meanwhile, lawmakers from both sides of the aisle continue to work on police reform. While it's currently stalled, one of the lead negotiators says it's still in the works.
When you demonize police officers, when you defund the police, and you start talking about this war on police and prosecution and not on crime, you're going to have a reduction in forces. And if you tell officers that their personal liability is on the line, it is a bad decision.
Senator Scott hopes to get police reform done before the August recess. In Washington, David Spunt, Fox News.
Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown took to the streets of his city this weekend to participate in a prayer march to end the violence that's plaguing the city. Fox News' Natalie Baumke reports.
Forgive your conflicts. Let that young man you're planning to kill tonight, let him live.
A strong message from Chicago's Police Superintendent David Brown. He and a group of district commanders joined 37th Ward Alderwoman Emma Mitz Saturday for a prayer march through the Austin neighborhood.
This is about a community saying stop this senseless shooting.
According to Chicago's Violence Reduction Dashboard, the Austin community has been victim to more than 180 shootings this year. That is nearly one shooting every day.
I'm tired and I'm sick and tired. I'm tired, my heart is aching of all the violence, and then we're going to just sit back and not say nothing.
Superintendent Brown says much of the violence is fueled by revenge and perpetuated by the silence of witnesses.
Street justice is never satisfying.
No.
It is never going to build up this community. put down your guns.
Earlier this month, Chicago launched a new $1 million fund for tips to help CPD track and seize illegal guns. CPD has also dedicated a team of 50 investigators to follow up on those tips.
The police department needs you, and you need the police department.
One of the shootings in Chicago this weekend happened outside the Mount Sinai Hospital on the city's west side. 3 windows were damaged, but there were no reports of injuries or what led to the shooting. Police are currently looking for the shooter. Elsewhere in the city of Chicago, at least 53 people have been shot since Friday night, including 7 who were killed. Right after the break, could mask mandates be making a comeback at the federal level? There are rumors that bringing back face masks is being debated at the White House, and you'll hear what the administration has to say in just 2 short minutes.
Call us.
Welcome back. There is said to be growing debate within the top levels of the Biden administration about whether to recommend or mandate the use of masks to deal with the resurgence of the coronavirus. Fox News' Peter Ducey takes a look.
Masks for the vaccinated? Maybe, as President Biden waits for the latest from advisors.
I think he's, of course, looking for their updates and guidance on what the spread is.
Major policy changes could be a ways off.
The general CDC guidelines still hold that you do not need to wear a mask indoors if, in fact, you've been vaccinated.
For the first time since late last year, the 7-day average of vaccine doses going into arms is below 300,000 a day as variants spread.
Do you know if there's been any talk here about updating guidance to start shutting businesses down in places that have very low vaccination rates?
No, there has not been, no.
In New York, Mayor Bill de Blasio is asking all employers in the city to require vaccinations. In St. Louis, masks are now required indoors even for the vaccinated, and masks are quickly becoming a midterm election issue.
If I'm elected governor here in Arkansas, we will not have mask mandates.
Other Republicans say they worry about who gets final say.
Nobody elected the CDC, no one elected Tony Fauci to make these decisions. Advisors advise, elected officials decide.
The Delta variant is not affecting President Biden's travel schedule yet.
So nothing has changed about our approach or protocols over the past week.
And that includes a lack of transparency about infected staffers, because despite this promise from the president,
I will always level with you. To use Franklin Roosevelt's example, I'll shoot you, give it straight from the shoulder what I know and what I don't know.
His administration won't detail positive cases.
Do you have a count, or can you offer any confirmation to us on the percentage of employees who are vaccinated?
I'm not going to provide that.
Are you trying to hide something?
No, but why do you need to have that information?
Transparency.
While businesses and schools and summer camps wait to hear about whether or not they are supposed to mask up again, the president isn't saying much about that.
A Biden administration plan could help alleviate future computer chip shortages with a large federal investment. The president wants to invest $52 billion for semiconductor chip factories in the U.S. The proposal would open 6 to 8 factories over 18 months within the U.S. after President Biden signed the Innovation and Competition Act into law. The $250 billion Act for Science and Technology is eventually expected to pass the House. The auto industry has been hit especially hard by recent chip shortages. It is forcing major companies to lay off workers, delay vehicle completion, and defer chip installation to dealers when available. Well, stay right there. We have got a lot more news headed your way, as well as another look at your weather with meteorologist Nick Kelly and your KOAM Sports Report with Danny Terzer. That's all coming up right here on your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. And right after the break, 2 men who made their places in American history and popular culture have passed away this weekend. One of them was legendary comedian Jackie Mason, who passed away today in a New York hospital. We'll learn about his legendary career and that of civil rights activist Robert Moses when we return. Civil rights activist Robert Moses, who worked to register black voters in the South in the 1960s, has died. Moses was the field director for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. In the 1980s, he founded the Algebra Project thanks to a MacArthur Fellowship grant. The project included a curriculum developed by Moses to help poor students succeed at math. Moses died this morning at his home in Hollywood, Florida. He was 86 years old. Iconic comedian Jackie Mason has also passed away. The legendary funny man died in a New York hospital this weekend. The Wisconsin-born, Manhattan-raised comedian who was originally ordained as a rabbi got his start, like many other comedians of the era, playing at nightclubs in the New York State's Catskill Mountain resorts. He appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show, The Joey Bishop Show, and The Merv Griffin Show, among many others. Mason also appeared in sitcoms like The Simpsons and 30 Rock, and movies such as the Steve Martin classic The Jerk and Mel Brooks's The History of the World Part 1. He also made his Broadway debut in a 1969 with a play, A Teaspoon Every 4 Hours, which he co-wrote. Mason was 93 years old. Do you believe in miracles? An Arizona woman says if she had been sitting differently in her car, she wouldn't be alive after a metal beam smashed straight through her windshield while she was driving on the highway. Fox News' Steve Nielsen spoke with her about the heart-stopping moment that nearly killed her.
I can't sleep. I'm terrified to be in a car.
Mandy Poff doesn't like reliving it. This moment that seems hard to believe if the pictures weren't taken by DPS.
It just went right by my face. It was terrifying.
Mandy says she was merging onto the 51 from the 10 in Phoenix Thursday around noon when everything changed. After a bump in the road, a 4-foot metal beam flew off the back of a work truck ahead of her.
It kind of bounced on the road and then flipped up and then just went straight through my windshield right by my face. And then kind of went up and cut the front or the top of my car and lodged itself in my back seat.
She said she was far away from the truck, but there was simply nothing she could do.
It was flying literally like in the air, like a missile.
Thanks to another driver, she pulled over, and after wiping away the shards of glass, she realized miraculously she was okay. Even the officer who responded was stunned.
Just thought, I can't believe that you're still alive. I can't believe this happened. And then I kind of looked over and saw it, and it's just crazy.
Now her car insurance has been a nightmare, she says, because they can't find the white pickup truck that drove away. She hopes it's a call to action to make sure everyone takes the time to secure what's on their truck or car.
I do a lot of driving. I can't avoid freeways, and I'm not going to let this stop me. I love my job. It's something I'm going to have to figure out how to work through therapy and time.
Steve Nielsen.
We'll be right back with meteorologist Nick Kelly and another look at your weather. Don't go anywhere.
Calling all
Believe it or not, it could have been a lot hotter than what we actually fared for today. We topped out in the lower 90s, but thanks to thunderstorms out of northern Kansas, they actually played a role in knocking us back into the 80s. Believe it or not, throughout the good portion of the afternoon, but at times we've seen plenty of cloud cover pass on by and maybe a couple instances of some wet grounds over Indigo Sky Casino Resort outside of Seneca, Missouri. Let me show you what I mean about what happened this afternoon. We had to go all the way back to late last night, early this morning. This complex of storms coming from the Kansas-Nebraska line, as they collapsed, they were sending out airflow or outflow from those thunderstorms. That passed on through the region. And not only did that allow us to drop back into the 80s during the afternoon, but it also helped to spark a good deal of thunderstorms actually on the Missouri side and a little more prevalent along the Kansas-Oklahoma line late this afternoon and earlier this evening. Nothing out there right now, so it is nice that we are dry as we go through the rest of the night, but I do anticipate lower 90s returning and the humidity sticking around as well. So at the very least, heat advisories for northeast Oklahoma until 8 o'clock tomorrow evening. But whether or not you're under a heat advisory, we are all hot and humid again as we go into our Monday to get a new work week underway. In the meantime, though, still quiet outside. At least it looks nice, but it's still warm and downright soupy. 79 degrees, feels like 82 in Joplin thanks to a dew point sitting at 74. And that's despite an easterly breeze at 7 miles per hour. Many of us are in the upper 70s to near 80 still, getting closer to the top of the 10 o'clock hour. But you factor in those dew points, it feels like 86 still in Chanute, 84 in Columbus, but more upper 70s are popping up. Thankfully, these numbers are going down as we will drop back at least into the lower 70s later on tonight. Any thunderstorms around the four-state region overall mainly confined to western and southwestern Oklahoma from about, let's say, Oklahoma City to Chickasha, and then trying to work down near Lawton as you continue down the turnpike. But even though we saw the outflow pass on through, the front itself didn't. It's still stalled just to our north, so that could try to spark some isolated storms tomorrow, along with any weekend pulses right along the upper level ridge that will come back into play as we head into the rest of the week. I do think we are dry as we go through the overnight, but partly to mostly cloudy skies around to start the morning out. Then I think we're partly sunny throughout the rest of the day tomorrow. But again, I can't rule out some isolated storms during the afternoon. But despite that, I do anticipate us going back into the heat and humidity tomorrow. 72 in the morning, 88 by noon, afternoon highs around 92. And again, with that humidity in play, it's going to feel like the upper 90s to as hot as 105 during the peak heating of the afternoon. Any stray storms we have tomorrow afternoon will fade away with the setting sun. I think we're mainly dry for Tuesday, but it is all about that upper level ridge. It is in firm control, even though we could see maybe a stray storm or two by Friday and maybe by Sunday of next week. But in general, that is going to keep the heat and humidity around as we wrap up the month this week. 92 tomorrow, 93 Wednesday, 94 on Wednesday. Then it's just miserable for the rest of the week. Well, thankfully not upper 90s, but mid 90s and mid 70s for highs and lows Thursday into the coming weekend, Mike.
All right, another hot week ahead of us. Not that big of a surprise. Well, stick around, sports fans, because we will be right back with Danny Terzer and your KOAM News at 9 Sports Report.
This is the Toyota Sunday Night Sports Feed. It's time for postseason baseball. The Outlaws finished the regular season with an 18-21 record, including a road win over the Renegades in the final game on Saturday. That win earns Joplin home field advantage heading into the wild card game. The Outlaws are set to play the Renegades once again, this time at Joe Becker Stadium.
The pitching and the defense, it's got to be there to give us a chance. We know that if we can get on base, we can run against them a little bit, so if we can control those aspects, we're going to be fine. We just got to get guys on base and create some havoc, and then, our pitching's just going to continue doing what it's doing throughout the summer. They've been, battling all summer long, and, they love the crowd. They love playing at home because of the fan base.
The game is set for Monday at 7 p.m. In the major leagues, the Kansas City Royals are on a tear, 5 straight wins and 6-2 since the All-Star break. Series finale against the Tigers tonight. Salvador Perez sets the tone in the first with a home run. That's back-to-back 3-run home runs for Perez. Next batter up, Jorge Soler joins in on the fun solo shot to center. He's not done. He adds another in the third, second jack of the day. Royals up 5-0. And Daniel Lynch dealing on the mound. Lynch pitches 8 shutout innings with 4 strikeouts. He earns his first career win. Royals roll by the Tigers 6-1, and that's a series sweep. The Cardinals are trying to avoid getting swept. Tyler O'Neill goes yard in the first inning, a 2-run home run to get the scoring going. And that's certainly not the last home run for the Cardinals today. Tied in the fourth, Harrison Bader takes a turn, his with 2 runners on. In the same inning, Dylan Carlson goes deep. The Cards score 7 runs in the fourth to take a 9-3 lead. But wait, there's more. In the ninth, Nolan Arenado gets his 20th home run of the year, a solo shot, and St. Louis wins 10-6. 2 of the best teams in Major League Soccer take the pitch tonight. Seattle and Kansas City have the first and second place spots in the Western Conference locked up. Sporting Kansas City is 5 points behind the Sounders. Tonight's game is in Seattle, but it's the visitors with the lead. Sporting Kansas City takes back a 2-goal lead, up 3-1 late in the second half. And we'll be right back with more news.
Join the
Welcome back to your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. A plane used during the Cold War is headed back to the aircraft carrier it once called home. Fox News' Angelo Bavaro has the details behind this unique homecoming.
This Douglas F-4D Skyray getting ready to serve a different kind of mission as it was loaded onto a barge Sunday morning and set off along the Connecticut River in Hartford. The historic aircraft used during the Cold War is now headed to its new home at the Intrepid Sea, Air and Space Museum in New York City.
We need it for our story because that airplane, that exact airplane, served on Intrepid in 1961. So adding it to our collection is just amazing for us.
An exciting day for Eric Boehm, who is the curator of aviation at the Intrepid Museum. Once arriving in New York City, Boehm says the Skyray will be lifted by a crane onto Intrepid's flight deck, where it last resided 60 years ago.
The barge will take about between 24 and 30 hours to down the river into Long Island Sound and then down the east side of Manhattan. Spend the night in New Jersey Monday night. And then Tuesday morning, we'll bring it the rest of the way up the Hudson River.
The Skyray was named for the unique shape of its wing, which resembles a manta ray. The fighter jet went into operation with the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps in 1956, and it was designed to be a high-altitude fleet protection interceptor, fast enough to catch and neutralize an approaching enemy bomber flying at 500 knots. Also, according to the Intrepid Museum website, Skyrays set many speed and time to climb records in their day as they were able to reach supersonic speeds. Once back aboard Intrepid, the museum's team of experts will start working to preserve the aircraft so visitors can learn from it for decades to come. The aircraft is expected to arrive in New York City on Tuesday, and people are going to be able to see this thing as it travels by from multiple points along the Connecticut River and Connecticut coast.
We are not done yet here on your KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. And when we return, we are taking a trip to Key West, Florida, where the legendary Ernest Hemingway lookalike contest has made a comeback. That story and more are next. Hey, check this out. It is the return of the Ernest Hemingway lookalike contest. And as usual, it's a sea of white beards and red berets as the annual event took place in Key West this weekend. The event returned after being canceled last year due to the coronavirus pandemic. About 140 contestants could be found appearing outside Sloppy Joe's bar and doing their best to look as close to the Pulitzer Prize winning writer as possible. The event is part of Key West's Hemingway Days Festival that started Tuesday and runs until today. A police officer in Ramapo, New York responded to a call of an animal needing a rescue this morning. And as you can see, it was a raccoon with a can stuck to his head. Poor guy. The Ramapo Police Department posted this video on Facebook. The officer tried just grabbing the can, but that didn't work, so the officer grabbed the raccoon by its tail and then grabbed the can at the same time and was able to perform the rescue. Let's wait for it. I think it's coming up right here. Come on. Save him. There, it's coming. Well, trust me, that can did come off. All right. Hey, thanks so much for wrapping up your weekend with us. We'll see you next week for more KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. Have a great night. Stay safe out there.